Hi, this is Lulu. I'm a compulsive overeater. We're working on the fifth step, and in the order that they're on, the order that is suggested is the order that they're in. These recordings are listed on the blog spot. So if you just kind of take things in order, you should hear it all in order. I tend to want to recap every time I get on, but I really don't have to because they're all in order. So the next piece of the fourth step is going through all the resentments. Then we do the sex inventory last, because we need to really discover us in relation to life, people, places, and things, what's tripping us up. And then we can see how we've brought those to also our intimate relationships. Just as the same with the fears, I have, now we're going to go into the resentment writing. That was the fear inventory, not to be confused with the fear list on the resentment. That was a whole separate inventory as well. So we've finished that. We've been enlightened on God reliance. I think maybe we should do a recording of an example on that, maybe, but I should just take away the other person, anybody's identity. Not that I did that, but anyway. Okay, so now we're going to go to the resentment writing on the people, places, and things. I like to start at the bottom of the list because typically the people that are on the top of your list are usually the people that first come to mind when you're writing your list, and they're usually the big ones like mom, dad, sister, brother, husband, wife, son, daughter, and those are the big ones. And we want to get really good at this by the time we get to the real significant relationships. So we kind of start at the bottom of the list. And just as with the fears, the way that I keep as a sponsor, it's the way I keep everything organized, because I work with a lot of people and I get step 5s, I get step 10s. So I even get step 10s from people that are doing step 5, because sometimes they're happening simultaneously, okay? So I just tell them you have to write in the subject lines, whether it's a step 10 or a step 5, and then the name of the person. Not their name, the name of the person on the resentment list, or what they're resenting. So you go into your Google Doc, you cut and paste everything that you've written. I resent so-and-so, causes, affects my fears, self-seeking, selfish, dishonesty. I tell myself this, I deny myself this, I tell myself this. And before you email it to me, you might want to read it over again, because when you wrote that, it was another time. It was maybe 4 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. By the time you finished that writing, you went on to your fear writing, you went on to your sex inventory. Now you're doing these tallies, you're doing the fear 5th step, right? You're doing all this stuff. Time has passed. And guess what happens like every day in this program? We change. It's the spiritual progress, not perfection. It's the progress that you might not even notice, but this is a time to notice it, because typically by the time you go back, you're like, oh my goodness. First of all, you can't even believe what you wrote on your list, right? And then you see the way that you've turned around the truth that you've been not denying yourself, and now with even more clarity about yourself, and more abstinence time, more meetings, more interacting with your sponsor, you're in a different space. And now read that and see if maybe you'll be like, wow, I can see even more truth. I've been denying myself this too. You can tweak it, tweak away. And there was another lie I was telling myself because of that fear that I just unraveled last week in my 5th step. Oh, I was telling myself this too, and this was the truth. And then you'll probably bring a lot more God reliance into your into that dishonesty writing too. My goodness, if I was relying on God, I would just be minding my own business and let these people just live their life, right? So the more clarity you see, so you might want to do some tweaking in your Google Doc to make it the best you have at that moment. And let me tell you, like, you can even look back on it a year later and you'd be able to tweak it some more. Like when I look at my writing, I didn't even know what the hell I was talking about, to tell you the truth. But it was pointed out to me. You know, if you don't get it, if you can't, you know, I just finished with a sponsee recently that I said that I felt that most of the writing was not as productive for them to see the truth, but that they were relying on me to unravel further. So those ones really, you need to be able to have the skill yourself. You might not develop it doing your 4th step, but they'll get really good in your 10th steps. They'll get better and better, more detailed, more productive, you know, because we just want to find the truth. So you don't always want to be sending off 10 steps, waiting, you know, with very kind of quick, not much thought in the writing. And then you're expecting me to be like, oh, I can find 10 more lies you're telling yourself with these truths. It's like, I can't be anybody's God, you know. Everybody needs to learn how to do this themselves, but it is a learning process. So then cut and paste the thing, boom, throw it in there. And then the way that the way on the fear list before we do the 5th step, we add that section, God reliance. I had them add a subject summary. So what I have them write in that summary is I want them to review the whole thing, because they may need to tweak it by the time before they send it to me. And I want to know in this summary, I want you to tell me what it is that you see now. What do you see now? What do you get? What, you know, where were you not God reliant? Where can you let these people off the hook? Can you see where you were at fault? Can you see how harmful what you've done, and that you see that you need to make amends? So I just invite them to write a summary, because when they send it to me, I want to know what they think about it before I start thinking about it. I want to see what they've thought, and without me saying what I thought first. Follow me? So I like to see this summary. This is what I think. And then this is reading that. This is the 5th. And of course, I always email back, and it's usually questions, a lot of questions, because I wasn't there and I don't know. And I want to really feel the full scope of this. And I have questions. I have a lot of questions. So I get it as clear as a bell. And a lot of the questions, I don't even really need to know the answer for. Like, it might be questions that you might want to think yourself, like, you know, were they really even doing this to you? How do you even know that? How do you know? A lot of my questions are, were you there when that happened? Like, do you know? Like, would you bet your life that was said? Well, no. You know, it's just like, okay, well, you're conducting yourself as if it's the truth. It's almost kind of like, well, it's true because I read it on the internet, you know. It's like, you know, it's that kind of a thing. It's like, well, they said so. Oh, who? The people that were gossiping, they said so. You know, it's like, maybe you want to think about where you get your information. Anyway, so together, now we'll go back and forth on these maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times. We tease it all out. Then when we get on our live sessions, once we've just exhausted every angle possible, then we get on the phone, on the call, a weekly 1-hour call, and we discuss them. We see, and then together we decide, we see the harms. Was there any harms done? We make sure that we see our self-seeking behaviors, and we can see those ones that are going to end up on our 6 and 7. We'll be like, see, there it was. We know it was there because you tallied it and you counted it, so you knew it was there. But this is it. actually being able to see it in action, without it just being on a list, you actually seeing it in action. Now, can you see what happens when you have a fear of other people's opinion? Look at this mess you've made of this relationship for like no reason other than fear. Like that's not a character building activity, you know. In fact, just the opposite. So yeah, it's a process. That's the way I do step 5. I want to hear it, and I also want to dissect it. I don't want to just hear it and then hear the next one, then hear the next one, then hear the next one. Now, when we decide to do amends, I got to hear it all again, because I have to put myself back into that situation in order to get together with somebody and advise. So I kind of like to do it all at once, and so just as a sponsor, as you get, and as a sponsee, as you send your first one, and then we go back and forth, you're getting help from your sponsor, is seeing the truth clearer. Then the next one you send, you bring some of that knowledge with you, and you tweak. Now you're tweaking them with the knowledge from the step 5 work you did before you started doing this section. Also hearing some feedback on the ones that you're doing, and you just keep snowballing until you're just like, oh yeah, I can see the truth. And then you start reading them, and you're just like, oh my God, this one is like nuts. I can't even believe I wrote this, and then you just start feeling cleaner and clearer, and you just know who you are. But we're just not left with, okay, now I know this is the way I've been conducting myself. And then you just do nothing with it. We have a lot to do with it. We have a 7-step prayer that we need to construct and make it a part of your everyday. And we need to make a step 8 list. We need to discuss all the different kinds of amends. There's all kinds of amends, not just sitting down with somebody and saying, I'm sorry. There's all kinds of amends, and we'll talk about that. Those will be coming up. Those will be coming up soon. And it's just, we just get to clean up the past. Then we don't regret it nor wish to shut the door on it. Because my past, which is in this book, that isn't a pretty story, it's extremely useful. I'm using it on this blog spot. I have this book open. Some people burn it. When they're done, they burn it because they're just like, oh my God, it's horrifying. And they just want to get rid of it. They're afraid somebody's going to find it, read it. Actually, want to hear something interesting? I keep a note on the top of mine. I know this is not to be paranoid. This is just to be realistic. I don't want anybody to read this book. Anybody that I love in my life to read this book. Anybody that may be looking in my belongings after I've passed, right? And I have a sign right on the front of mine. It just says, please do not open this notebook. Please just toss it. And I truly believe the people that I love that will be in here in my room cleaning up after me when I've gone to the nursing home, I believe that they will read this and they won't open it. I really believe they would. So I trust that. And because, yeah, there's things in here nobody should read about other people. But I don't know how many people are doing it in pen and paper these days. Everything seems to be electronic. Are you? Oh, yeah, raise hand. I don't know. I have my little note there, and I have full faith. That nobody will open it and read it, because it's more valuable for me to keep it. Much more valuable for me to keep it and share it with people, to show the power of this program. And I have to remember the way that I was brought through it, and the things that I wrote, and the things that I thought, and the things, it's just, it's good. It was just like, that's all. I think I'm all set with this part.